Jesus and the other guys spoke so much about honesty and truth and walking the way, following the way is in many words, or in a few words, to be honest and true. The 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 book of the way, the middle way, the way. Yeah, to just walk the way to is to be. I'm thinking of the word, the movie Tenet by Christopher Nolan. It's a difficult word, I think. I don't know why I chose that for that movie, but a tenet here for being, for awakening, for enlightenment, for living life, basically, I would say, or two tenets maybe, is honesty and truthfulness. To be honest and to be true is to be in love, be in love, in love with the world, being love. Those are synonymous, I would say. Love, honesty, truthfulness, truth. What else? Transparency. Yeah. Being consciousness, bliss, maybe. Satchitananda. Anyway, being honest, of course, can be detrimental in some ways. I like the way the spiritual teacher Adyashanti often frames it, in the way that being honest or truthful isn't about, or rather it is about showing yourself, showing up, being almost like confessing. So you're constantly confessing to the world and making a confession. It's I like that metaphor, and of course, it's for good or bad. You know, we have that in the Christian tradition, and there are other traditions that have versions, different versions of it. That you go to someone and confess your quote sins or your misdeeds or whatever you have missed the mark and the original meaning of sin, and then you go and confess. And like Jesus said again, if we are we're in the Christian tradition now, or speaking about Christianity, if you bring forth that which is within you, what you bring forth will save you, and if you do not bring forth that which is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. That's from the Gospel of Thomas, I think. It's not the original canon, but I think it's a good quote, worth mentioning. And yeah, that is the same thing, that if we bring forth that which is within us, something that is, not something. This is the great metaphor with having it as a confession, because a confession is hard on us. It can be difficult for others to hear it. Like, for example, if someone comes out as being gay, for example, that can be really hard for the individual, and it can also be difficult to hear for other people around them. But when many people say, when they are being honest, they use honesty as a way of sort of rationalizing being mean to others, saying you're ugly, for example, you're a dick, you're an yeah, whatever, yeah, these bad words. Uh, when it's and that's not difficult for them to say at all. It's not a confession. It's not bringing forth that which is within you, unless that bringing forth is sort of a trigger response. And if we are in a trigger response, yeah, that's not the time, I think. That's probably not the time to bring forth that which is within you. Could be at some point in time, but I would say 95% of the time it's usually not a good thing to to bring forth that which is within you when you're in a deep trigger response, and no one else around you likes that too either. And it's not really confessing either. It's because when you're responding to a trigger, you're in a trigger response, and it's more just pulled out of you. You're just in a state of despair, or I don't know. You're in a stressful situation, and you just say things that you often regret afterwards. So, and it can also just be you're not even in a trigger response, but you're saying mean things to other people. That is not being honest, even if it has truth to it. Being honest in the way I think about it, at least, and I think in the light that Adyashanti, for example, spoke about it, the spiritual teacher, and I think maybe if we, I would think that Jesus also meant, and I think for most of us, if we really go inside, if we go to ourselves, and if we listen inside, are we being in? Are we being love now? To of course we can't always maybe be 100% love, but I think that's a good question to ask yourself if you're wanting to say something to someone else, wanting to express something from within you, to make sure that you are as much as you can being in love, being honest, making it like a confession that is difficult for you to do. That is the big, um, that's just a good mnemonic device to have, this idea that, is this hard for me or for the person listening to it? Or just thinking, or just knowing that this is hard for me to share. This is me confessing. And even if it's something in relation to another person, for example, we are expressing our needs and we risk being rejected. That is something that is, we are confessing something. Maybe we want something, but instead of being angry, saying you should have done this, you should have done that, yeah, I don't like this, or whatever it is, to be vulnerable, like Brené Brown, who speaks about the power of vulnerability. I think this is that has connotations, and it's also good to have in mind. Are we being vulnerable in our expression of ourselves? Of course, there is, I was going to say righteous anger, but indignation, but the word I'm looking for is sort of I don't remember what it's called, but like sort of holy anger that Jesus also expressed, and other saints have done. That you can see something that's really off, and you need to speak that out, which is of course fine. That's really not often though, right? And it also puts you in a difficult situation. When Jesus did it with the money lenders, it didn't put him in a great spot. So it's again almost like confession, in that it is difficult for him to do it, even though he may not have he may not be vulnerable in that very moment. Maybe he was, I don't know. But to the degree that we are vulnerable and authentic and in love and expressing ourselves, then being honest and truthful is almost always the way to go. I think that is the way. That is just walking the way, walking with and not knowing also. So this ties into the don't know mind, or the cloud of unknowing, because when we're expressing ourselves, when we're showing up, when we are being truthful, honest, and all those things, we don't know how people around us are going to react. We don't know if we're going to be rejected or hurt by it, or whatever. We don't have control over those things, and it's difficult. That's why the the narrow road is difficult. It is difficult. No one is saying anything else. And it's so easy to not take that road. It's so easy to shell up in a way. And of course, I mean, it's totally fine to be, everything's fine basically, as long as you don't hurt other people. You know, if you're afraid, if you're shelling up, maybe you're avoiding, whatever it is. I mean, that's, of course, that's fine. No one is judging you or me or anyone else. Or maybe they are, I don't know. But we can develop the skill or ability to be more in love, in truth, in vulnerability, and coming from that rather than coming from fear, you know, and most often we don't even know that it's fear because it's in the defense mechanisms from, you know, childhood, whatever, you know, we're just doing it like we always have been. And yeah, it's really, it's unconscious for us. So that's why we have to work on it. We have to train our mind. We have to train ourselves. That's why, you know, in Buddhism, they work on compassion. In Christianity, and, you know, all the, you know, in Islam, in Judaism and Daoism and Hinduism, all these major religions and all the spiritual traditions value or put a great value on being loving, being compassionate, being a bodhisattva, as they say in the Buddhist tradition, that you come from this compassionate place towards yourself and towards other people. But it's, again, it's something that you train. You work on it through different meditations, for example, through, you know, taking other people's hurt inside of you and sending out love instead, for example. That's just a meditation. I think it's called Tonglen in Buddhism. And there are tons of it. But it's really simple thing is, and also being grateful, you know, that is also a workout, something to train, being grateful, because when we're more grateful, we become nicer to other people and towards ourselves. And also just going deep inside our own mind with meditation or whatever spiritual practice we have will get us at least more down to our knees, will, you know, make us realize we can't do it, we're not in control. And this thing called surrender may arise spontaneously from time to time at least, which will also bring forth honesty for ourselves and truthfulness in the world. Yeah, okay, that's I think that was everything for this stream. Thank you.